coming?
She's gonna be late. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll do the pledge. Look, Gina, sing the pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Here.
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 Here. All right, so now I read my part here. A quorum being present, first order of business is to hold a public hearing on the budget prepared in tentative form as set forth in the minutes of the meeting of the Board of Education held on July 16, 2019. The Secretary of the Board of Education has submitted affidavits and certificates of publication from the Landmark and Suburban Life stating that a tentative budget for District 208 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020 was placed on file and was conveniently available at the district's administrative offices. Notice was given that a public hearing on said tentative budget will be held at 7 p.m. on September 10th, 2019. That's today. Due notice has been given of the public hearing on the budget and all other statutory requirements preliminary to the holding of such public hearing has been compiled with. Dr. Skinkis, Ms. Matana will present and explain the 2019-2020 budget and answer any questions from the board.
Thank you, Wes. Kristen's done a great job on this budget. We've been working on it since June. We've had 2 Finance Advisory Council meetings. Originally, when the board seen the first draft of the tentative budget in June, the projected deficit was close to $650,000, and tonight's final budget has a projected deficit of $400,000. So, although we are still projecting a deficit, which is never positive news, we have been able to tighten some things down, also make some corrections to revenues now that we received additional information from the state to bring the deficit down. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kristen and let her, as the Assistant Superintendent, proceed with her presentation on the budget.
Good evening. Tonight's my pleasure to finally present the final budget for fiscal year 20. I'd like to begin on Board Book page 7. This is the executive summary for the budget. As Dr. Skinkos was mentioning, you can see the total operating fund revenues, which are listed in green, which is a little over $26 million. And then the total operating fund expenditures, which are listed in red, are $26,976,037. So this results in a deficit of $452,714, which includes the working cash transfer. So without the working cash transfer, we're about a deficit of $402,000. Again, as Dr. Skinkis mentioned, this is reduced significantly since when we first approved the tentative budget. A lot of new information became available in August from the state about additional revenue coming in, as well as using last year's actuals to reduce some line items in the budget. If you look at the bottom of Board Book page 7, you will see our operating fund balance as a percent of operating expenditures. Without the $2.9 million in working cash, which is reserved, we estimate that we will finish fiscal year 20 with 48%. And this percent is important because this means that next year, if we weren't receiving any revenue, we'd be able to operate for approximately 48% of the school year. And that's a healthy number. Lastly, I'd like to highlight the historical summary of revenues and expenditures on page 8 of Board Book. This has been revised after meeting with the Finance Advisory Council. So as you can see, we created some different categories for expenditures to try to capture a better sense of what our major expenditures are on, and then add some graphs. So as you can see, a majority of our revenue comes from local property taxes, and a majority of our expenditures go to general education, specifically salary and benefits. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I think there was only one question that was submitted from the board that may apply to the budget, and that was regarding CTE and Perkins. And Kristen, do you want to address that question now?
Sure, I can address it now. So Perkins Career and Technical Education grants, there are 2 grants, and they are spent to support programs in our Applied Arts Department as well as career exploration in these areas. Specifically, we use the grants to offset approximately 2% of the salary costs for individual teachers within that department, professional development, as well as sub-costs for this, curriculum revisions, or curriculum development work, so often they will update the curriculum based on new trends, and the grant will pay for that. We also use the grant to purchase software and supplies for courses, as well as any equipment that is needed.
And there was one correction, just on a footnote basis, under on page 8 of board book in the budget. This is a nice expenditure, revenue and expenditure analysis, so we appreciate the pie graphs. For transportation, a board member did submit a question asking for clarification. Special ed transportation, athletic transportation, all transportation is included in the expenditure fund, in the historical transportation fund.
Correct, and the updated version will be on the website tomorrow.
And those were the only questions that we received in regards to the budget.
You scrubbed this pretty good the last couple months, I'll have to say. But I do like the grants.
Me too.
Okay, I think it now is an opportunity for you to ask if there's any citizen comments on the budget for the public hearing.
The meeting will now be open for public discussion, and all persons desiring to be heard will be heard at this time. Is there anyone who wants to talk? Ladies? All right. Seeing that there are no further comments from the public, can I have a motion to adjourn? Is that what we do?
Yeah, adjourn the public hearing.
Adjourn the public.
I make a motion that we adjourn the public hearing of the budget.
We have a second.
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 Vote all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. And now declare public hearing on the budget completed, and the regular meeting will now proceed.